many walk through life with an open heart, willing to give and give until they have nothing left. Yet in their generosity they lose themselves, bending to the whims of others, sacrificing their own peace for the sake of appeasing the world. They become soft, soft in their words, soft in their actions, and soft in their boundaries. But here's the truth. Softness, when it is given away without wisdom, is not a virtue, it is a weakness. It is a trap that slowly drains you, a road that leads only to exhaustion and resentment. The world may applaud kindness, but without strength, that kindness becomes your burden. It is time to stop being soft to everyone. It is time to understand that boundaries are not walls of separation, but shields that preserve your energy, your peace, and your respect. And when you are too soft, you begin to allow others to step over your boundaries. At first, it may seem harmless. A favor here, request there. But gradually these small compromises begin to stack up. People notice when you don't stand firm. They test the waters, pushing further and further, until you find yourself at a point where you're giving more than you're comfortable with. The line between kindness and self-sacrifice becomes blurred. And before you know it, your time, energy, and emotions are being drained by those who don't respect you. This lack of boundaries invites disrespect, not admiration. Others may smile in the moment, appreciating your generosity, but behind the scenes they begin to take advantage. They will call on you at any hour, ask for favors without ever offering anything in return, and expect you to bend to their every need. The more you allow this, the more it becomes a pattern, and the harder it becomes to say no when the time comes. You start to feel like you're constantly giving without receiving, and yet, when you try to reclaim even a small piece of yourself, you are met with resistance or guilt. It is vital to understand that just because someone asks doesn't mean you have to give. Every time you let someone walk over you, you are making a choice to disregard your own needs. In doing so, you train others to see you as a doormat, a person who exists to serve their needs, without expecting anything in return. You begin to lose your sense of self-respect, because you're constantly putting others first and neglecting your own worth. For time, this sets a dangerous precedent, where you become defined by how much you can do for others rather than what you stand for. This softness can lead to internal resentment. It's easy to pretend everything is fine on the surface, but inside you start to feel bitter. You may smile when people ask for your help, but underneath that smile is a growing sense of frustration, because you know you've given too much. You begin to resent those who constantly take, and yet you feel powerless to stop it. But here's the truth. This resentment doesn't come from others, it comes from you. You allowed it. You have the power to set boundaries, to say no, and to take back control of your life. Ultimately, being soft in this way is not a virtue, it's a trap. It robs you of your time, energy, and peace. When you let others walk over you, you lose sight of your own needs and desires. You must learn to recognize when enough is enough. It is not selfish to say no. It is not unkind to protect your boundaries. By setting limits, you are not only protecting your well-being, but you are also teaching others to respect you. Remember this. When you stop letting others walk over you, you start walking in your own strength, and that strength is the key to living a life of true freedom and self-respect. When you are too soft, conflict becomes something you fear rather than something you face head-on. The mere thought of disagreement makes you uneasy, as though confrontation could unravel the peace you have carefully constructed around you. You avoid those uncomfortable conversations, telling yourself that it's better to let things slide rather than create tension. However, in doing so, you are simply postponing the inevitable. Problems left unaddressed only grow larger with time, festering in the silence you have chosen. In the absence of conflict, you may believe you are keeping the peace, but in reality you are surrendering your voice. Every time you stay silent to avoid discomfort, you deny yourself the opportunity to express your true feelings. What you fail to realize is that conflict, when approached with respect and courage, can lead to growth. It is an opportunity to set boundaries, to strengthen your relationships, and to clarify what matters most to you. By avoiding it, you allow misunderstandings and hurt feelings to thrive, creating more distance between you and others. The fear of conflict also leads to internal frustration. Over time, when you constantly suppress your feelings, they don't simply vanish, they accumulate. You become a pressure cooker of pent-up emotions, from resentment to anger, and eventually you explode. But this outburst isn't the result of a single issue. It's the culmination of all the conflicts you avoided. If you don't confront problems early on, you'll find that they have compounded in your mind and emotions, leaving you feeling overwhelmed and out of control. Furthermore, avoiding conflict makes it difficult to establish healthy boundaries. Without the ability to communicate your needs in tough situations, you end up letting people take advantage of you. You don't assert what's right for you, and in doing so, you make yourself vulnerable to being treated in ways that do not honor you. The constant need to appease others leads you to question your own desires and needs, often choosing what others want over what's truly best for you. This compromises your self-respect and your sense of individuality. Living in fear of conflict also weakens your relationships in the long run. True connection is built on trust and honesty, not on the avoidance of difficult conversations. If you're constantly walking on eggshells, you deny yourself the opportunity to create deeper, more authentic relationships. People can sense when you are not being fully transparent, and they begin to lose respect for you. The most meaningful relationships are formed through honest dialogue, where both parties are free to express their opinions and emotions, even when they disagree. It's important to remember that conflict doesn't have to be a war. It can be an opportunity for both sides to understand one another better, to express their feelings, and to resolve misunderstandings. It's about communication, respect, and maintaining boundaries. Fear of conflict makes you small, and it keeps you stuck in a cycle of appeasement and resentment. Stop running from it. Instead, face it head-on. The more you do, the stronger you will become. You will no longer fear confrontation, but embrace it as the tool for growth that it truly is. Being too soft to everyone often leads to a consistent feeling of being drained. You give and give without ever taking time to replenish yourself. Whether it's your time, your energy, or your emotions, you end up exhausted from constantly accommodating the needs of others. Each day feels like a race against the clock, trying to meet everyone's expectations while neglecting your own. You wear yourself thin, trying to be everything for everyone, but in the end, you are left with nothing for yourself. This exhaustion isn't just physical. It takes a toll on your mental and emotional well-being as well. The more you give, the less you have left to give. You start to feel like you're running on empty, and no matter how hard you try, you can't seem to refill your tank. This emotional depletion leaves you irritable, frustrated, and disconnected. You feel like you're giving more than you should, but no one notices, or appreciates the effort. The satisfaction of helping others is overshadowed by a deep, gnawing sense of emptiness. As your energy reserves continue to dwindle, your own needs get pushed further and further down the list. You prioritize everyone else's well-being while your own needs go unmet. What happens next is a subtle shift. You start to feel resentment toward those you help because you have nothing left for yourself. You're not angry at them. You're angry at yourself for letting it go on for so long. You have placed everyone else's happiness, success, and needs above your own, and now you're paying the price for it. The problem with always giving is that you lose sight of who you are and what you need. You stop checking in with yourself and start measuring your worth based on what you can do for others. Your value becomes attached to your usefulness, and without realizing it, you let the opinions and demands of others dictate your self-worth. This lack of self-awareness creates a cycle of overextension. When you keep giving, you lose your identity in the process. The more you stretch yourself to meet the needs of others, the further you move away from your own purpose and passion. In your desire to please, you lose track of what makes you happy. You think you can't say no to others, even when it compromises your happiness or well-being. You believe that the more you do, the more others will like you or respect you, but the truth is that real respect is earned through boundaries, self-respect, and the ability to say no. Without this, you become a source of constant depletion for others, and they may take your generosity for granted. Additionally, this state of being overextended leads to burnout. Over time, you begin to resent the very things that used to bring you joy because you are no longer doing them for yourself. Instead, you are doing them out of obligation or expectation. The people who used to lift you up now feel like an additional weight. Your job, your friends, and even your family begin to feel like burdens. You've worn yourself so thin that everything feels like an obligation, and your once vibrant energy is replaced with weariness and apathy. The constant cycle of giving without rest drains not only your body, but your soul. It saps your creativity, your passion, and your ability to enjoy life. When you're constantly overextended, it's difficult to find joy in the small things because your focus is always on others. You become consumed with meeting external demands, neglecting the internal need for peace, joy, and rest. Your own emotional health is sacrificed, leaving you disconnected from yourself and unable to fully engage in life. The only way out of this cycle is to recognize the importance of self-care and the necessity of setting boundaries. When you stop being soft to everyone, you reclaim your energy. You begin to prioritize your own needs, creating space to recharge and reconnect with who you are. You must learn to say no without guilt, to stand firm in your own convictions, and to understand that your worth is not defined by how much you give to others. Rest is not a luxury. It is a necessity. If you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to serve others with the fullness you are capable of. Stop being soft and start being strong enough to say, I need to take care of myself too. One of the clearest signs that you've been too soft is the consistent failure to speak up for yourself, whether it's in a conversation, at work, or in your relationships. You often keep silent when something bothers you. The reasons for this are many. Fear of confrontation, a desire to avoid causing problems, or simply not wanting to upset the delicate balance you've created with others. But the result is always the same. Your voice is stifled, and your needs are ignored. You have allowed the world to dictate your worth and your place in it, without ever asserting your own desires or opinions. Over time, this silence becomes more than just a temporary discomfort. It becomes a habit. You begin to silence yourself in every situation, believing that your thoughts and feelings are less important than those of others. You tell yourself it's easier to keep the peace, to remain quiet, than to risk the potential fallout of standing your ground. But this quietness is not peace. It is submission. It is a quiet surrender that over time erodes your sense of self and your sense of agency in the world. You've allowed others to make all the noise, leaving you with only the echo of your own unspoken desires. When you never speak up for yourself, you teach others that it's okay to disregard your needs and wants. They learn that they can walk over you without any real consequences, and over time you become invisible. This isn't just about raising your voice in disagreement. It's about asserting your presence in the world. It's about making it clear that you matter, that your thoughts, opinions, and boundaries have value. By staying silent, you rob yourself of the chance to show others that you are a person with your own identity and desires. Silence becomes your identity, and that is a dangerous place to be. Another consequence of not speaking up for yourself is the loss of respect, both from others and from yourself. When you let people walk all over you without ever expressing how it affects you, they start to view you as someone who lacks the courage to stand up for what's right. They begin to see you as a passive observer in your own life rather than an active participant. This lack of self-advocacy leads to a gradual erosion of respect in relationships. People may not actively disrespect you, but they will fail to truly appreciate you because they don't see you asserting your worth. The longer you allow yourself to remain silent, the harder it becomes to find your voice again. Silence breeds insecurity. You start to doubt yourself, questioning whether your opinions are worth expressing or if they will even matter. You become trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and indecision. Your fears of rejection or confrontation grow louder, making it even harder to speak up the next time. The more you stay silent, the more it becomes ingrained in you that your voice doesn't matter, and you begin to lose the confidence to express yourself at all. There's also the issue of resentment that builds up when you don't speak up. You might smile and nod, pretend everything is fine, but deep down, you start to harbor feelings of frustration and anger. You feel overlooked, underappreciated, and even taken for granted. Yet you never say anything, convincing yourself that complaining would be ungrateful or unnecessary. But that resentment doesn't disappear. It grows over time, and eventually it will find a way out. And when it does, it may not be in the controlled, constructive manner you would have hoped. Instead, it may erupt in a way that harms both you and those around you, simply because you failed to speak up when it mattered. This silence not only affects your relationships, but also your personal growth. When you don't express your needs and desires, you block yourself from creating the life you truly want. You give away your power by allowing others to dictate the terms of your existence. This is not only about standing up for yourself in confrontations, but also about setting your own course in life. If you never speak up, you allow others to make decisions for you, decisions about your time, your energy, and even your self-worth. You lose sight of what you truly want and end up living a life that is not entirely your own. When you do not speak up, you also rob yourself of the chance to learn and grow. Conversations, even difficult ones, provide valuable opportunities for self-reflection. By expressing yourself, you not only let others understand your perspective, but you also gain insight into your own thoughts and feelings. This self-awareness is key to personal growth, and without it, you are left in a state of perpetual stagnation. Your silence keeps you from evolving, from understanding the depth of your own desires, and from moving forward into a life that is truly yours. It's important to understand that speaking up doesn't mean being rude or aggressive. It means standing firm in your beliefs, values, and boundaries. It means being willing to express your needs even if those around you are uncomfortable with it. It is about having the courage to show up fully in your life, to honor your own voice, and to communicate your worth. Your voice is a tool for shaping your world. It's time to stop letting it sit idle. To stop being soft means to embrace your voice as a powerful tool for change. It means stopping the habit of silence and replacing it with the confidence to speak your truth, regardless of the outcome. You are worthy of being heard, and your opinions matter. It is only by finding your voice and using it that you will begin to reclaim your personal power and create the life you truly deserve. Fear of judgment is one of the strongest forces that keeps you from standing up for yourself. When you're too soft, you constantly worry about what others think of you. This fear can manifest in many ways. You fear saying the wrong thing, making a mistake, or expressing yourself in a way that others might disapprove of. You measure your worth based on external validation, believing that how others see you determines your value. This fear becomes paralyzing, and you end up living your life according to the expectations of others, rather than following your own path. The fear of judgment often stems from a deep desire for approval. When you are soft, you tend to seek validation in every area of your life, whether it's in your career, relationships, or personal endeavors. You are constantly looking for reassurance, approval, and affirmation from those around you, and you become obsessed with how others perceive you. This need for validation overrides your own instincts, desires, and dreams, leaving you feeling unfulfilled and disconnected from your true self. As a result, you become overly concerned with the opinions of others. The fear of judgment keeps you from taking risks, stepping outside your comfort zone, or pursuing your own goals. You hold back from making bold decisions because you're afraid of what people will say. You second-guess yourself at every turn, wondering how your actions will be perceived by others. This constant self-monitoring leaves you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and indecision, unable to fully embrace the person you are meant to be. This fear also affects your ability to set boundaries. When you're afraid of judgment, you're less likely to say no or assert your own needs. You worry that saying no will make people dislike you or think less of you. Instead of prioritizing your own well-being, you bend over backward to please others, even if it means compromising your own happiness. The need to be liked becomes stronger than your need to maintain your own sense of integrity. As a result, you allow others to overstep their boundaries, robbing you of your peace and self-respect. Furthermore, fearing judgment can keep you from expressing your true feelings. You become afraid to share your thoughts, opinions, or desires because you worry that others will criticize or dismiss you. You stay silent, afraid that if you speak your mind, you'll be judged as selfish, difficult, or unworthy. This fear of judgment keeps you trapped in a cage of your own making, preventing you from experiencing true connection with others. You may even alter who you are, pretending to be someone you're not, in order to fit in and avoid the discomfort of judgment. The longer you allow this fear to control your actions, the more it reinforces the belief that you are not enough as you are. You start to believe that your value is conditional, based on how well you meet the expectations of others. This belief leads to insecurity, self-doubt, and a lack of confidence. You forget that your worth is inherent and not dependent on external approval. You begin to lose sight of your own identity because you spent so much time trying to mold yourself into what others want you to be. This fear also creates an unhealthy cycle of perfectionism. You become obsessed with doing everything perfectly in order to avoid judgment. Every action, every word, every decision is scrutinized in your mind as you try to avoid making mistakes that might lead to disapproval. The pursuit of perfection can drain your energy and happiness, as you never feel like you are good enough. The more you try to meet others' expectations, the more disconnected you become from your authentic self. Ironically, the more you fear judgment, the more you invite it. People can sense when you are unsure of yourself, or when you are pretending to be something you're not. They may not consciously judge you, but your energy will communicate to them that you are uncertain and insecure. This creates a dynamic where you're constantly seeking approval, but never truly receiving it, because others can sense that you are not being genuine. The fear of judgment also stunts your personal growth. When you're constantly focused on what others think, you miss out on the opportunities to learn, fail, and grow. Growth comes from taking risks and making mistakes, but when you fear judgment, you become paralyzed. You stay stuck in the safe zone, never pushing yourself beyond your comfort limits, never trying something new. This leads to stagnation, where you feel like you're not making progress, but you're too afraid to do anything about it. To break free from this fear of judgment, you must learn to embrace your imperfections and your uniqueness. You must realize that no one can define your worth except you. The opinions of others will always be there, but they don't determine your value. You are not here to please everyone, and it's impossible to live a life free of judgment. However, you can choose to live authentically, to stop measuring your worth by external standards, and to begin living according to your own values and desires. When you stop fearing judgment, you step into your power and start living with true confidence and freedom. The feeling of not being enough is one of the most insidious consequences of being too soft. You constantly struggle with the belief that you have to do more, be more, and give more in order to be worthy of love, respect, and success. This belief isn't born out of a rational thought process. It's an emotional reaction to the underlying idea that your value is conditional on your ability to please and accommodate others. When you're too soft, you begin to lose sight of your inherent worth, and you start measuring yourself based on what you can do for others, not who you truly are. Over time, this feeling of not being enough becomes a chronic condition. It's as if there is always a little voice in your head reminding you that you're falling short. No matter how much you give, it's never enough. No matter how hard you try, it feels like you've missed the mark. This creates a constant state of dissatisfaction with yourself. You never fully feel like you've arrived, that you've done enough, or that you've become who you're meant to be. Your self-worth becomes a moving target that you can never seem to hit, leaving you stuck in a cycle of self-criticism and self-doubt. This belief that you're not enough often drives you to overcompensate. You go out of your way to prove your worth to others, doing everything you can to be liked, loved, and accepted. You put others' needs above your own, thinking that by pleasing them, you'll finally feel good about yourself. But this never works. The more you give, the more you feel like you're still falling short. And the more you try to please others, the more you lose yourself in the process. Your actions become driven by a deep desire for external validation, which only reinforces the belief that your value is determined by what others think of you. As you continuously try to prove that you're enough, you begin to feel trapped. You feel like you have to constantly perform to maintain your worth, and this pressure weighs heavily on you. There's never a moment of rest. never a time where you can simply exist as you are. Your identity becomes entangled in what you can do, and your worth becomes conditional on achieving success, gaining approval, or meeting the expectations of others. This cycle leaves you feeling exhausted, unappreciated, and disconnected from your true self. The problem with constantly feeling like you're not enough is that it erodes your self-confidence. Every time you fail to meet your own high standards or the standards set by others, your belief in yourself takes a hit. Slowly but surely, your sense of self-worth deteriorates. You begin to think that you're incapable, unworthy, and unfit for the success or happiness you desire. You focus so much on your flaws and shortcomings that you fail to see the strengths, talents, and value that lie within you. This lack of self-acceptance can also lead to feelings of inadequacy in your relationships. When you don't feel like you're enough, you may unconsciously seek validation from others, but you'll never feel satisfied with their approval. Even when others praise you or express their love for you, you dismiss it as insincere or undeserved. You constantly feel like an imposter in your own life, unable to accept the love and respect others offer you. This prevents you from forming deep, authentic connections because you don't believe you're worthy of them. Additionally, feeling like you're not enough often leads to perfectionism. You set impossibly high standards for yourself, believing that only perfection will make you worthy of success, love, or respect. Every little mistake becomes a reminder that you're not good enough, and this leads to chronic stress and burnout. Instead of seeing mistakes as opportunities for growth, you view them as failures that confirm your worst fears, that you're simply not enough. Perfectionism paralyzes you, keeping you from taking risks, trying new things, and fully embracing the process of self-improvement.